Welcome back. Now what we need to do is that we need to use this function in order to get the response array and display the headlines in our website. So I'm going to open up the index, and in order to call this function from the index, we need to import the functions. So in the index, what I'm going to do is that here at the top we need to say PHP and then PHP script, and then you need to say include once. And then you need to pass the functions .php. And since now we have these functions included in the index, what we want to do is that we want to call the convert into array function, because this function will return the response array. This function makes the call and returns the array. So what I'm going to do here is that I'm going to open up a new PHP script, and then I'm going to call the function. I'm going to say convert into array. And then I'm going to store the result in a new variable called response array. So response array is going to be equal to convert into array. Now this is an array. And since this is an array, we can loop over it. We can loop over it and display, remember, we can display the headlines, the objects that we have in the articles array. So to do that, here we need to use while or for each. I'm going to be using for each, and I'm going to be using it here. Here I'm going to use this. I'm going to say here for each. I'm going to open up a PHP script, and then I'm going to say for each. For each what? For each response array as element, because each single inside the response array we will have elements or objects. Let's say object, and then here curly bracket, and then close the PHP script, and then here I want you to open a PHP script, and then I want you to close the curly bracket. So the opening curly bracket will be here, and the closing curly bracket will be here. However, we need to access the key first. Remember, the key was articles. So this response array will contain everything. It will contain also the other keys, and we don't want the other keys. Instead, we want the articles itself. Therefore, you need to say here articles. You need to open a square brackets and then single quotes and then articles. So response array articles as object. And now here what we can do is that we can, let me remove this, we don't need this, this is a mistake. What we want to do here is that we want to use this object to display each single key we have, or the most important keys. So what is the most important key in use headline? Obviously it's the title. The title is the most important key. Therefore here, remember we have here card title. I'm going to say PHP, and then I'm going to say echo, and then I'm going to echo the object. However, we need to access a specific thing from the object. We need to access a specific key. So the key that I want to display here is the title. I'm going to display the title here. I'm going to say title. Similarly, for other keys, what else do we want to display? We might want to display this description. So the description contains more information about that news article. So here I'm going to say PHP, and then echo, and then object, and then what was the key? Let me check one more time. So the key was description. So here I'm going to say description. Similarly, for the image, remember we have this image. So for the image, we need to say source, and then equals to double quotes, and then I'm going to open a PHP script, and then I'm going to say echo, and then object, and then here what's the key for the image? So the key for the image is URL to image, and you need to pay attention to the characters here. We have camel case, URL to image. So here I'm going to say URL to image. URL to image. You can also display other things such as the published at, the content, the URL, the author. Let's display, for example, the author. You can here copy this and paste it below, and then you can here say author. The author key is author. So here I'm going to say first author, and the key here is going to be author. Let me now save, and let's head on over to the browser to test. So now in the browser, let me refresh, and as you can see, we will have here, as you can see, we will have news headlines, and each news headline has image, headline, description, many things. But the problem is that we need to work on the design. The images are too small, so let's change the size of the image. So I'm going to open up the CSS folder, and then in the CSS I'm going to change the width of the image. Instead of 75, let's say 200. I'm going to say 200. Now let me refresh, and the images should be much bigger. As you can see, they are now 200. You can even increase this to 300. I think 300 would look amazing. Let me say 300, and here I have an error. Let me remove this point, and let me refresh one more time. So now we should get 300. So 300 is better, but 300 with this design, we need to decrease the number of news headlines per row. So instead of saying here 3, let's say 4. I'm going to say here 4, and this is going to fix it. So now, if it doesn't fix it, then we need to do one of two things. The first thing is to decrease this number, or we can say 100%. 100% will make sure that the image will not go outside the parent. As you can see, it's going to take exactly the width of the parent, which I think looks now amazing. So you will have all of these news headlines. And finally, the problem that I want to fix is that here we shouldn't be displaying the description. This was just for testing. Displaying the description like this would ruin the website look, because we just want to display the headline itself, and then the description or the complete article should be displayed only if the user is interested in that specific piece of news. And I'm going to be showing you a technique to display the description only if the user is interested in a specific news headline.